Hi.
We are live. Live.
Live. And I've got Robin Hood right here.
Lovely. I have a Kindle version.
And I
But
don't
it
think we've
seems
started yet, have we?
we have not started yet. That's why I was like, if we don't start now, we never. It's never happening.
Should I read the preface from the author to the reader? Just to get us in the right headspace for all this?
I mean, sure. I don't remember if we ever read the preface before. Two pieces of context in case anyone ever watches it. Number one, we've read this book many times, mostly on car trips. And number two, this is ginger ale.
Yeah. Those are
In
very
case anyone was wondering, I drink it in a wine glass because it makes me feel fancy.
Yes. That is very fancy. We have bought the season's first eggnog. We buy the SoCo eggnog because it is the best eggnog. We did compare and contrast a few years ago just to make sure. And yeah, I'm going to gain so much weight this holiday. Preface from the author to the reader. You who so plod amid serious things that
that started really heavy. You.
I'm sorry. I'm getting the school teacher Johnson from Rockridge vibes. We though. All right. Good start. You who so plod amid serious things that you feel it shame to give yourself up even for a few short moments to mirth and joyousness in the land of fancy. You who think that life hath naught to do with innocent laughter that can harm no one, these pages are not for you. Clap
Well, that's
to the
quite a way to start. Do not interact if you are.
If you've got to stick up your butt, keep walking. Clap to the leaves and go no farther than this, for I tell you plainly that if you go farther, you will be scandalized by seeing good, sober folks of real history so frisk and caper in gay colors and motley that you would not know them but for the names tagged to them. Here is a stout, lusty fellow with a quick temper, yet none so ill for all that, who goes by the name of Henry II. Here is a fair, gentle lady, before whom all the others bow and call her Queen Eleanor. Here is a fat rogue of a fellow, dressed up in rich robes of a clerical kind, that all good folk call my Lord Bishop of Hereford. Here is a certain fellow with a sour temper and grim look, the worshipful, the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Boo! Boo!
Boo! And here above all is a great tall merry fellow that roams the greenwood and joins in homely sports and sits beside the sheriff at merry feast, which same beareth the name of the proudest of the Plantagenets? Plantagenets.
Plantagenets.
Plantagenets. Richard of the Lion's Heart. The fuck is a Plantagenet? Teach me.
I don't know. It's his family name. Also, fun fact. This I do know because Sandy has gotten into medieval history and we had a lovely chat about it. Do you know Richard the Lionheart almost never spent any time in England?
Not surprising, since
He
most
was
of the
on
stories.
crusade a lot, but also
Yeah.
when he wasn't on crusade, he was living in France. Because he was the Duke of Normandy.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Richard the Lionheart. Apparently not the greatest.
His PR team were amazing because
His PR team were outstanding.
top of the line. Beside these, there are a whole host of knights, priests, nobles, burghers, yeomen, pages, ladies, lasses, landlords, beggars, peddlers, and what not. all living the merriest of merry lives, and all bound by nothing but a few odd strands of certain old ballads, snipped and clipped and tied together again in a score of knots, which draw these jocund fellows here and there, singing as they go. I love this. The disclaimer. I made all of it up.
You're gonna recognize some historical names, but like this is just my fanfic about them.
Don't at me. This is the don't at me.
I don't own the name Plantagenet. Richard the Lionheart, don't sue me.
Here you will find 100 dull, sober, jogging places, all tricked out with flowers and what not, till no one would know them in their fanciful dress. And here is a country bearing a well-known name, wherein no chill mists press upon our spirits, and no rain falls, but what rolls off our backs like April showers off the backs of sleek drakes. Where flowers bloom forever, and birds are always singing, where every fellow hath a merry catch as he travels the roads, and ale and beer and wine, such as muddle no wits, flow like water in a brook. This country is not fairyland. What is it? 'Tis the land of fancy. Tolkien would say they're the same place. And is of that pleasant kind that when you tire of it, whisk, you clap the leaves of this book together, and 'tis gone, and you are ready for everyday life with no harm done.
This guy's really into clapping leaves.
Clapping leaves and whatnot.
I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say, but it has just occurred to me that clapping leaves is what the Ents call clapping cheeks. And whatnot.
And whatnot. Oh, what happens when Ents twerk? Clapping leaves. And now I lift the curtain that hangs between here and no man's land. Will you come with me, sweet reader? I thank you. Give me your hand. Prologue. Introduction, foreword, prologue. Introduction to the prologue of the foreword.
There's not actually a book in here. It's just it's just all introductions.
Oh, did you ever read The Salmon of Doubt?
Is that the one where all the chapters are chapter 1?
I don't think
No,
so.
I think that's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
It's the one that Douglas Adams couldn't finish before he died.
Then no, I did not read that.
It has several introductions, and one of them was written by Terry Jones, and he's celebrating the fact that this is the most introduced book ever written. And it's charming and really cool, but also sad. Don't read it. It's half of a novel and then like several essays, and you can read the essays, but don't read the half of the novel. I'll never know. I will never know what happens to Dirk Gently next, and that is a torture I have learned to live with.
Yeah, I just have a personal policy of not reading any of my favorite authors' final book. And then as far as I'm concerned, they're still alive and writing.
Right. Oh, hilarious. So you've heard you've heard the argument, because it's been going around the internet for a while, the anecdote about someone who was with a bunch of Tolkien scholars, and they were debating whether there were bees in Middle Earth, and eventually someone said, well, there's mead halls, so there's got to be mead, so there's got to be honey, so there's got to be bees. And someone in Threads yesterday was like, are they so lost in the weeds, these Tolkien scholars, that they've forgotten that Bilbo literally talks about the bees around Beorn's garden?
I was gonna say, didn't Beorn keep bees? He did.
Big bees, big huge bees. Like, they're described. They're there.
Like,
and I came back with, yeah, not only are there bees, but mead is never spoken of. Every time they drink in Meduseld, they're drinking wine. The stirrup cup is a glass of wine. So to assume that Meduseld is a mead hall is kind of bullshit. also the bees came first, like they were talked about in The Hobbit. And someone actually wiki Middle English translated the word Meduseld and clapped back at me and said, Meduseld means mead hall. It's Middle English for the word for mead hall.
Hmm.
I'm like, that is fucking awesome. I love it. I have learned a new thing today. I'm still right about the bees.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not they actually had mead at Menderseld, you were very right about the bees. Bjorn kept bees. Like, that was a significant part of his whole deal.
Yeah. I think there's also a piece of Shire description where the honey is dripping in the comb, so it's not just Bjorn. And yeah. Oh, and somebody else said Galadriel's song mentions the golden mead, the years pour like golden mead, blah blah blah. And I'm like, thank you. I like threads. People have arguments that aren't just shouty.
That sounds delightful.
It's nice. A little too addictive. I feel like I'm in the early days of Twitter, so I'm spending a lot of time in it because it didn't last there.
I am avoiding any of the Twitter clones on account of Twitter was already bad for my mental health, and I don't need a substitute.
Yeah.
But I got off of it way before it went down the toilet.
I never got on it. I missed that entire movement, so it's neat to be on one, even if I have much better things to do with my time. All right. Prologue, giving an account of Robin Hood and his adventure with the King's Foresters. I'm not going to read the whole description because it's frustrating to read the description and then read the chapter, like, spoilers. In merry England, in the time of old, when good King Henry II ruled the land, there lived within the green glades of Sherwood Forest, near Nottingham town, a famous outlaw whose name was Robin Hood. No archer ever lived that could speed a grey goose shaft with such skill and cunning as his, nor were there ever such yeomen as the 70.
140.
Merry men that roamed with him through the greenwood shades. Right merrily they dwelt within the depths of Sherwood Forest. It was a lot more impressive when you were 4.
I can imagine. But also, it did take me a second, and I do have a moment of like, still got it.
Yep. I'm sure it's been a while. Right merrily they dwelt within the depths of Sherwood Forest, suffering neither care nor want, but passing the time in merry games of archery or bouts of cudgel play, living upon the king's venison, washed down with draughts of ale of October brewing. Manly.
Oh, October ale. That's right. That's like a whole thing. What's the difference between October ale and other ale, do you suppose?
The barley was riper?
Could be. Or because like lager has to ferment in a cold place, so maybe it has to do with like the temperature.
Could be. I just love how you can honestly smell the armpits of this description of like, yeah. What are we gonna do today, Robin? Cudgel play and drink beer and eat meat. Not only what's that?
Same thing we do every day. Well, John, try to take no wait. I also was just googling why is October ale better, but it's only bringing up Oktoberfest beers.
Oh, Google's really gone downhill.
I'm not even using Google. I use DuckDuckGo, but
okay.
I think
I had to use Bing to get my clockwork photography for my clockwork painting project because Google Images just didn't. I mean, it was all AI.
Yeah,
it
it doesn't work for crap.
No. Yeah, but you know who else drinks October ale? Are the creatures at Redwall.
That is the other reason I know of it, most likely. Yes,
I think so. Yeah. Kind of want to read them again, but I also kind of don't. They're for kids, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I see all the flaws now. No, what I want to do is make our own private Redwall cookbook with actually good recipes, because we have the official Redwall cookbook and it has a really cute little through line story. The recipes are crap.
They're terrible. I remember we tried to make Bernard bread and it didn't know.
That was us experimenting, I think. But like the otter's hot root stew, the shrimp and hot root stew that's mentioned in every book, the only seasoning in it is a quarter teaspoon of curry powder.
So a British person wrote that book.
Oh, I did hear a rumor. Can't call it verifiable because it was just like a person on the internet who didn't strike me as an expert. But no, wait, it was fucking tasting history, Max Miller. So I guess he is an expert. But he said that the English ate well until World War II, and ever since then their diet has been absolute garbage, and that's what they're famous for. And it's really sad because they did used to import tonnage of spices. They went to war for it. They ate that they had a cuisine, and then it died. World War II
Yep.
killed it.
I've heard a lot of different interpretations of what killed British cuisine. I'm sure World War II didn't help, what with being under rationing for like 20 years.
Yeah.
But it also has to do with like I think elitism a little bit, and like heavily spicing food became considered to be like low class, and even though it was never the case that people were spicing food to cover the taste of rotting meat. That is a myth.
That is a myth.
Nobody nobody eats rotting meat. Like, that's not okay. Hey Carl is an exception. Hey Carl is the rotten shark that is
right.
supposedly an Icelandic delicacy.
It's the exception
I did not
that proves
try
the
it.
rule.
Yeah.
You know? Not only Robin himself, but all the band were outlaws and dwelt apart from other men, yet they were beloved by the country people round about, for no one ever came to jolly Robin for help in time of need, and went away again with an empty fist. And now I will tell how it first came about that Robin Hood fell afoul of the law. When Robin was a youth of 18, stout of sinew and bold of heart, the Sheriff of Nottingham proclaimed a shooting match, and offered a prize of a butt of ale to whomsoever should shoot the best shaft in Nottinghamshire. Now, quoth Robin, will I go too, for fain would I draw a string for the bright eyes of my lass, who is mentioned twice in this sausage fest. And a butt of good October brewing. So up he got, and took his good stout yew bow and a score or more of broad cloth yard arrows, and started off from Locksley town through Sherwood Forest to Nottingham. It was at the dawn of day in the merry May time, when hedgerows are green and flowers bedeck the meadows, daisies pied, and yellow cuckoo buds and fair cuckoo buds. Cuckoo buds?
I don't know.
And
I'm still hung up on how Robin is off to prove that he can handle his shaft the best of anyone, so he can win the sheriff's butt. I mean, what?
And he needs a score of broad cloth yard arrows to do it.
For the love of for the eyes of his lady love, or whatever.
Bright eyes of my lass. Yeah. Daisies pied and yellow cuckoo buds, and fair primroses all along the briery hedges. When apple buds blossom and sweet birds sing, the lark at dawn of day, the throstle cock and cuckoo. And the lads and lasses look upon each other with sweet thoughts. Rawr.
Something throstle cock.
when busy housewives spread their linen to bleach upon.
Did you pause like that on purpose?
Their linen to bleach upon the bright green grass. Sweet was the greenwood as he walked along its paths, and bright the green and rustling leaves, amid which the little birds sang with might and main, and blithely Robin whistled as he trudged along, thinking of Maid Marian. That's it, that's all we get, and her bright eyes, for at such times a youth's thoughts are wont to turn pleasantly upon the lass that he loves the best. As thus he walked along with I love that they're doing things that they're merrily trudging all the time. Like to trudge.
To trudge the slow, merry, undepressed,
Uplifted.
walk of a man who has nothing in his life except the impulse to
Think of the bright eyes of his lass. You were going to fit the sheriff's butt into that somewhere, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I was, and then I was like, no, there's no need to belabor the point. There's going to be a lot of butts in this story. I gotta pace myself.
As thus he walked along with a brisk step and a merry whistle, he came suddenly upon some foresters seated beneath a great oak tree. You know what else there's a lot of in this story is thrusting. 15 there were in all, making themselves merry with feasting and drinking as they sat around a huge pasty, to which each man helped himself, thrusting his hands into the pie, and washing down that which they ate with great horns of ale, which they drew all foaming from a barrel that stood nigh. Ew. Each man...
Yeah, I don't like the part where they're just sticking their hands right in it. That.
Right.
When's the last time you washed those hands?
What do you even wash your hands in? Beer?
Oh God, it's so sticky.
Each man was clad in Lincoln green, and a fine show they made, seated upon the sward beneath that fair spreading tree. Then one of them, with his mouth full, called out to Robin, "Holla! Where goest thou, little lad, with thy 1-penny bow and thy farthing shafts?" Then Robin grew angry, for no stripling likes to be taunted with his green years. "Now," quoth he, "my bow and eke mine arrows." You remember eke? It was
What?
Eke was even, or also.
Oh God, I had completely forgotten.
I don't think I ever read it normal. See, obviously, my bow and eke my arrows.
There's no other way to read it.
Are as good as thine. And moreover, I go to the shooting match at Nottingham town, which same has been proclaimed by our good sheriff of Nottinghamshire. There I will shoot with other stout yeomen, for a prize has been offered of a fine butt of ale.
Everybody loves a fine butt.
How can you not? I'd shoot for it. Then one who held a horn of ale in his hand said, "Oh, listen to the lad. Why, boy, thy mother's milk is yet scarce dry upon thy lips, and yet thou pratest of standing up with good stout men in Nottingham butts. Thou who art scarce able to draw one string of a 2-stone bow. Yeah. I'll hold the best of you 20 marks, quoth bold Robin, that I hit the clout at 60 rods by the 60?
60.
By the good help of our Lady fair." At this all laughed aloud, and one said, "Well boasted, thou fair infant, well boasted, and well thou knowest that no target is nigh to make good thy wager." And another cried, "He will be taking ale with his milk next." At this Robin grew right mad. "Hark ye," said he, "yonder at the glade's end I see a herd of deer, even more than 60 rods distant. I'll hold you 20 marks that by leave of Our Lady I caused the best heart among them to die." "Now done," cried he who had spoken first, "and here are 20 marks. I wager that thou causest no beast to die, with or without the aid of Our Lady." Then Robin took his good yew bow in his hand, and placing the tip at his instep, he strung it right deftly. Then he nocked a broad-cloth-yard arrow, and raising the bow, drew the grey goose feather to his ear. The next moment the bowstring rang, and the arrow sped down the glade as a sparrow-hawk skims in a northern wind. Very poetic. High leaped the noblest heart of all the herd, only to fall dead, reddening the green path with his heart's blood. "Ha!" cried Robin. "How likest thou that shot, good fellow? I wot the wager were mine, and it were 300 pounds. Then all the foresters were filled with rage, and he who had spoken the first and had lost the wager was more angry than all. "Nay," cried he, "the wager is none of thine, and get thee gone straightway, or by all the saints of heaven I'll baste thy sides until thou wilt ne'er be able to walk again." "Knowest thou not," said another, "that thou hast killed the king's deer?" "You're dead, dear, to kill a king's deer."
King illegal forest, 2-pig wild killing it is.
What? "And by the laws of our gracious lord and sovereign King Harry, thine ears should be shaven close to thy head." "Catch him!" cried a third. "Nay," said a fourth, "let him e'en go, because of his tender years." I like that one. I wonder what happened to him. Probably ended up an outlaw too.
Probably did, yeah.
Never a word said Robin Hood, but he looked at the foresters with a grim face. Then, turning on his heel, strode away from them down the forest glade. But his heart was bitterly angry, for his blood was hot and youthful and prone to boil. Now well would it have been for him who had first spoken had he left Robin Hood alone. But his anger was hot, both because the youth had gotten the better of him, and because of the deep draughts of ale that he had been quaffing. So of a sudden, without any warning, he sprang to his feet and seized upon his bow and fitted it to a shift. To a shift? It probably means shaft. "Aye," cried he, "and I'll hurry thee anon," and he sent the arrow whistling after Robin. It was well for Robin Hood that the same forester's head was spinning with ale, or else he would never have taken another step. As it was, the arrow whistled within 3 inches of his head. Then he turned around and quickly drew his own bow and sent an arrow back in return. "Ye said I was no archer," cried he aloud, "but say so now again." The shaft flew straight. The archer fell forward with a cry, and lay on his face upon the ground, his arrows rattling about him from out of his quiver, the grey goose shaft wet with his heart's blood. Then, before the others could gather their wits about them, Robin Hood was gone into the depths of the greenwood. Some started after him, but not with much heart, for each feared to suffer the death of his fellow. So presently they all came and lifted the dead man up and bore him away to Nottingham town. Meanwhile Robin Hood ran through the greenwood. I hope they were done with the pie.
Didn't sound like they were done with the pie.
I just left it.
They just, left the pie, left their horns of ale, left all their
Right.
crap, left a dead deer.
Right?
I mean, what you gonna do?
They're shit at their job is what they are.
I mean, clearly.
Aren't foresters supposed to make sure that things stay clean and pristine and nice? And no, they're just littering everywhere.
They're littering everywhere. Also, if it was illegal to kill a deer in the King's Forest, which it was, they should have not let him try. Or at least told him, like, hey, don't make that bet. That's illegal.
Right? Like, you'd think that he would assume it was legal if foresters are telling him to do it.
right? You go to the national park, a forest ranger says, "Ha, bet you can't do that." You assume you're allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah. And um and especially since what they were teasing him for was his youth. It's a bit odd that they didn't do a now you might be too young to know this, but even with our permission, you're not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't very nice guys.
No.
Also,
They,
he never did anything to them to start with.
nope.
He just walked by and they were like, "Hey, look at that guy! Ah, what a
Little
little
baby.
asshole,
Look at the little baby.
baby!" Ah.
He's so cute. He can't even shoot. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Firing an arrow
So,
back in self-defense, that takes some speed and precision. I couldn't do it. I'd be fumbling with that arrow for 5 minutes, like dodge, fumble, grab, eh, 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 eh.
I mean, I couldn't even bend a bow. Let's be real. I ain't got the joints for that.
Right? Just dislocate your shoulder.
Immediately, yeah. I would just be like, pop, and be like, "Was that the string? No, that
No,
was me."
that was.
Also, that don't you have to like try and like get the string over the thing and like again,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not gonna work.
Nope. You're too bendy.
Too many.
Too bendy.
Well, I am delighted that we got started on Robin Hood, and we have started as we will be continuing with lots of butts, October Ale, eek,
Trusting.
and Robin picking fights with dudes for no reason.
Oh, the picking of the fights. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's gonna be so many fights for
There
no
will be
reason.
many. There will be much merriness. There will be many scores.
There will be many scores.
It is absolutely one of the Sausage Fest books that I enjoy. Not quite on the level of like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, but got that vibe. Like you can't make a friend without first trying to beat the shit out of each other, and you're blood brothers.
Testosterone is a hell of a drug.
it's it's a not protected, restricted substance for a reason.
On that note, I'm gonna go.
Yep.
And I will see you next week.
See you next week, but not here. Here.
But not here. In life. In the face to face in the meat space.
Yep. Cuidado.
Yama.